Peace, you guys. Welcome to Just Us Jenkins. If you are seeing me for the first time, I'm Jamillah, stay-at-home homeschooling mama of 3 beautiful babies. I'm also a certified Reiki master, spirit whisperer, lineage healer, generational curse breaker, and owner of healingmama.com. You guys, we are bringing the podcast back today. Don't mind the dogs in the background, honey, because y'all know this real life. This real life be lifing. But I have my beautiful friend Carli Hoffman here today. And shush. We're gonna be talking about vulnerability and healing and sisterhood and all the good, bad, ugly, and beautiful in between. So Carli, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, first of all, for letting me be on here. I'm very honored and excited. My name is Carli. I'm a mom. I'm a nurse. I work in women's health. And I'm also a sensual movement advocate, teacher. I love burlesque, love boudoir, anything that empowers women. So, yeah.
Yes, girl. Carli, did you mention your profession? Did you mention
Yes. That? Yeah.
And Carli, she's an advocate for empowering women and self-love, and she has the most beautiful, enticing, engaging energy. I just freaking love it.
Thank you very much.
She lets me just be my weird self, by the way.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so Carli, where can we find you at? Where do you want to be found?
So right now I'm on Facebook under Carli Michelle Hoffman. And then I am on Instagram, Carli_Michelle87. I'm in the process of creating my own social media pages for my sensual movement practices, my boudoir pictures, and anything related to that. So right now it's just my personal pages, and then we'll go from there.
All right. And I'll make sure after this is over, y'all, to link it in the description box as well. So once again, today we're talking about the power of vulnerability and healing within women and sisterhood. When did you start your healing journey?
So my biggest part was after I got divorced. A little bit prior, like without going into too much right now, but I think for me, my trauma, I guess, or I wouldn't even call it trauma, but I grew up in a religion that very much was it suppresses women in a lot of ways. And there were certain things I was told and taught, and it wasn't necessarily from my parents, it was from just the church in general. Of, women follow their husbands meekly, don't say anything, and especially like sexually. Mm-hmm. And you can't show that, you can't embrace that. And I've always been, since a teen, a very sensual person. Mm-hmm. I remember being as a young girl, I loved dressing up. I loved dressing, I wouldn't say provocatively, but I loved showing off what I had. And there were lessons I was taught where it was like, you shouldn't feel like this. You shouldn't act like this. And I remember thinking in my head, I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be. But when and I think I dated very young, and in relationships where I was never comfortable with my voice. And when I finally was, and I stood up for myself, it was very quickly shut down. So it just was a pattern of shutting down my voice. I became, I just didn't learn how to speak. Like, it just suppressed over time. Mm-hmm. So in my divorce, there was a lot of things that I wasn't being listened to, and my feelings weren't being validated. And I lost my ability to listen to my intuition, lost myself in general. Mm-hmm. And when I got divorced, it was an all-time, like, that was my rock bottom, my dark night of the soul, whatever you'd like to call it. Mm-hmm. And after that, the first thing I did was I went to counseling to find something. And initially I went to counseling to kind of validate that my ex-husband was the cause of everything. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because it opened my eyes up to my accountability and what I needed to address to work on myself. And that's what started it, was facing my demons, going deep inside and going from there, like addressing those stuck stories, those stuck feelings. We're also taught, I think, a lot of times not to feel our feelings, and
Yeah.
it definitely let them out. And so my counselor too, at one point, I remember she told me, she said, you are angry and that's okay to be angry. And you need to be angry about what has happened. And I, even in my mind, I'm like, well, I was never told that I could be angry. I was never allowed to be angry. So finally felt that and was able to start addressing things from there. And my next step that really, really led me like to find myself was getting into pole dancing classes and sensual dance classes. And
Yes.
that was, again, a part of us women as women is so suppressed. And I remember just thinking, I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm in an environment with women who have been through similar experiences and who are all, you know, healing through movement and embodiment of our feelings, of our power, all of that. So I did that. And then I got involved in a women's like body love group. And that was kind of my sisterhood piece, where I was in a very small group of women, and it was a weight loss, you know, eating better, exercising, but it was more of a body love and acceptance group, which was very helpful. And so we worked through our body issues, our trauma, or, you know, our trauma, I guess, around food and diet culture and all of that. And just all those things, like the sisterhood, the sensuality, led me to find myself again. And that was when I reached that point. It was the highest point of my life. Like I felt the best and wanted to give that to others. So yeah.
That's so beautiful. And, you know, when you were telling us about your journey so far, I know a lot of women struggle with that same thing. Like, our sensuality is connected to our creativity.
Mhm.
It's connected to our womb, our wisdom. 'Cause our mind is in our womb, you know,
Yes.
us biological women. And so if you come up in like a culture, a society, a certain group with certain beliefs, that does get shut down. Your creativity, your throat chakra, your sacral chakra. And that is so beautiful that
Yeah.
in your healing you found like where you could be better at in your
Mm-hmm.
life. And you know, that's helping the other relationships and dynamics in your life. Like, that is so empowering. So
Mm-hmm.
kudos to you, Carli.
Yes.
Kudos.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. How do you become okay? How do you become safe in your vulnerability?
For me, I think we have to start with ourselves. And you hear that everywhere. Like everything I listen to, everything I've looked at is like, you have to start with yourself, addressing, like learning how to trust yourself and especially your intuition. And as a woman, again, that's trusting your wisdom in your womb. And there were a lot of times where you get those immediate feelings like something's wrong, or this is what you're supposed to do, and you brush it off, or that's what I learned to do, was like, this is fine. Or I'm not going to listen to this right now. So once I learned how to trust that, and I after, there were so many situations where, especially before, you know, leading up to my divorce, where I realized that those were all truths. Like there were things that came to light where I was like, hey, my intuition's telling me I wasn't listening. Here's the truth that came out. So I had to learn to trust myself, find my values, and set boundaries with, you know, myself, with what I'm going to accept, what I'm not going to accept from people, and how I'm going to treat myself. As far as, you know, you got to get up and exercise. You got to eat. You got to do this.
Yeah.
And it's very unique to everybody. But starting with yourself. My next one, I'm going to peek at my notes here real quick because I took some notes.
Yes, girl. I love
I the other big one, I mean, again, for me, was sensual movement. So the thing is for me, as women, our womb and our throats are they're interconnected completely. So if one's closed, most likely the other one will close. Or it's interesting because I've always been open in my sensuality, my hips, my all of that, but it's my throat has been my issue. And once I was able to start openly expressing more of my sensual dance and accepting that hey, I'm going to show the world this, and I started noticing I could speak more clearly, and it was easier. It wasn't, there's times where and to this day, right now, my issue is I'm back in a place where my throat closes off so easily, like physically closes off when I am in situations where I have to express myself.
Yeah.
And it's trying to find out, like, where is that coming from? Is this like, why? And so getting involved in sensual movement, I think, starts that. And I know some women too who are, they're more open in their throats, but they're closed off in their yonis and their wombs. So it's interesting. But the other thing, I was going to mention too, when I was getting divorced, the first thing I asked my counselor, I said, is there women's groups? Is there a women's group that I can talk to? And she's like, well, I really don't know of any. And this wasn't terribly long ago, but there wasn't much at all, like a women's divorce group or just a women's healing group in general. And that's what I immediately wanted, was because just to go and sit with sisters, with other women who have been through what you've been through, and just listen. And so that was my next thing, is I started going to women's events when they became more available. And initially, I think learning how to be safe in your vulnerability is knowing that you're in an environment where you can trust the people that are there. So going, and whether like sitting in the space and feeling what's there. There are spaces you can go to that don't feel fabulous. So I think going and sitting and seeing what's going on. And then I don't even necessarily think at first you have to share everything, but knowing that you're safe at first and feeling the energy from the room.
Yeah.
So once I started feeling safer around certain groups of women, I started sharing more. And then it's just, I think that you getting your stories out verbally gets them out of your body. They get stuck. They cause so much issues, like physical issues in your body, if you can't speak them, if you can't let them out, if you can't have somebody listen to you. And so that, once I established a good, circle of sisters, I was able to share more. So, yes.
That is so true. It is so hard sometimes to just speak. And that happens to me every once in a while too. Like, it just closes. You're like,
I know. It's like, I don't.
And it's like,
well, then your brain shuts down too. And I'm just like sitting there like, I don't even know what to do right now.
Yes. Okay. So, what are your experiences with sisterhood? I know you kind of touched on it.
Mine haven't been the best up until recently. And it's really unfortunate because this is the sisterhood wound.
Yes.
We need so badly to heal, because I do believe that women gathering and connection with women is going to change the world. Like, is what's going to change the world. Like having empowered, strong, connected women to their femininity and just other women will change the world. But there's so much disconnect with women. Like, there's so much judgment. There's so much betrayal even within women. And I've struggled with that, just with like, I am actually a very trustworthy person, and I give a lot. I think that's part of that's what I do for my job. That's what I do. And so, yes. So I give and I give and I give. And there's times where I've gotten involved with some girlfriends that have just been energy vampires, essentially. And not only that, but have betrayed me in ways where it's like, it just feels sickening. But I would still push through it. I'm like, oh, she didn't mean that. Or, oh, she's my friend. She's going through a hard time. But then it got to a point where it's like, every time I'm around, it doesn't feel good. So I have to walk away. And it's just, it's hard. And so I've met some wonderful women, And I go off of how I feel. Like, how does this woman make me feel when I initially meet her? And I hope I do that to this other, other women too. And we all have different personalities and stuff, but yeah, it's hard. And I think, again, learning how to communicate and, being able to express yourself.
Right. So. I think it's so hard because, like you said, the sister wound, and that sister wound for a lot of us women has happened like in our childhood, or maybe we had a mother, sister, grandmother, aunts, female cousins that caused that wound,
Yeah.
And so I think subconsciously, energetically, we carry that over to all of our feminine relationships and kind of assume, like, subconsciously, because I don't really think a lot of people are aware, like, I'm sabotaging this relationship, or I'm gonna get her before she gets me, like, not addressing your insecurities or whatever, and you project that onto these other women,
Yeah.
So I've had that too. And I'm in the season of my life where I truly value beautiful feminine relationships. Because, my husband and I, we have been together since we were 19, but baby, he don't say it. I know he's sick of hearing my girlfriend chitter chatter.
Well, they don't communicate like we do. It's funny. I mean, Andre is the same. It's like, it's just the difference between guys and women. And that's why we need that connection. I feel like we need an environment that we can go and essentially, I don't want to say complain, but just, talk. And when you're in a good sisterhood, the other thing I was going to say too, is when you're in a good sisterhood environment, if you go there and you have complaints about your husband or complaints about whatever, they'll make you look at yourself. Like they'll be there for support, a space to listen, but they will make you look at yourself, and it's not going to be like, oh, you leave him immediately. You go home and you do this. And that's what I was in too with some women. It was just like this. I get text messages saying, you gotta leave him. You gotta do this because I think this is happening. And it's like, no, this is a you problem. And so, yeah. So learning how to discern between that too, of, who is really there for you. And, you have to have those safe, women environments.
Yeah. And just be able to, I mean, back in the day, nobody ever talks about it, but women used to have their sister circles and they go and hold space for each other. If you were suffering from any type of ailment, confusion, whatever, you needed help with your cheering. Like you said, talking about your man, like, and there's none of that anymore. Because as soon as oh girl, I talked to Stacy today. Guess what she said? I told her. I tried to tell her. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And and the same thing, I wrote that down too, is like, we used to have, we're healers. We had like the red tent societies. We had all these things where we healed together and we supported each other through hard times and just through womanhood, essentially, like in general. And just, I think too, when I think of vulnerability, like in general, especially, for anybody, but for women, we all go through so many life experiences and it's so much different trauma. And we again keep that trauma. A lot of us keep that trauma inside. It's grief that's not spoken. It's all the same in our bodies. And there's a lot of like, oh, you didn't go through, yours wasn't as bad as so-and-so's or mine or this and that. And it's crazy. Like, instead of, having a space, just a space to even hold silence and a space for that person to let go of, like, let their suffering out, let their grief out. And then just listening to understand, not solve problems, and just holding that person in that woman in that grief. Because we're so similar. We're all mothers, and we all go through that. That's, and nowadays there's a lot of, working. I've majority of my motherhood's been a full-time working single mom.
Yeah.
So it's like there's different struggles and different, but in the end we're going through the same type of stuff. And so yeah, I just don't think there's not so much of a space where I would like to see more where women can just, you can express yourself and your feelings without feeling judged or feeling like you're wrong or feeling like you're not welcome.
Right.
So, yeah.
And this is such a beautiful time too, because I think moving forward, out of certain energies for everybody, we're gonna see less and less divide among awakened divine feminines, and it's not gonna matter. The same things that mattered ain't gonna matter no more. But yeah. How can we as women build better relationships?
I think, again, understanding that we've all been through different things, and hello. And just connecting with, like, spending more time connecting with one another and talking and doing stuff as, as women, like going out together, instead of judging each other on how we look or, what she's doing, what she's not doing. I think it's just that, getting out and connecting.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I agree. I totally agree. And like being more, as we're talking about being more vulnerable, like why is it so hard to admit that, hey, I really have had trust issues or sisterhood wounds in the past, and I'm actively working towards having better female dynamics in my life. And when another woman tells you that, try to be more open and receiving, like, okay, I'll be a little gentle to her. Like maybe I wouldn't give the same kind of tough love that I could give to my other girl because she can take it. But since this one has the issue with the women, like, because that's what I feel like I've tried to do more in my journey of having friends, women friends. Because I used to always hear, and I'm sure you've heard this too, I'm better friends with men. I'm better friends with guys. I got more guy friends than I have girlfriends. And that's because your feminine energy is not in a healthy, energetic zone. And you got to sit down and figure that out.
Yeah. That's why it starts with you, like your work. And in that, your relationship with, men will improve also. And like, they don't, I mean, again, this is a whole other conversation, but they don't want a masculine woman. They don't want, and it just doesn't work, I don't think. And yeah, it drives me, it's hard when, I see the deception and the mistreatment of women all over, and then they can't trust any other woman.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard, especially, the society we live in. Sometimes it forces us to operate more in our masculine energy. But when you are with great women or you're in a very healthy, secure relationship dynamic, you should be able to put that masculine energy shield down and be able to thrive in your divine feminine energy and only use your masculine energy basically for what you need it for,
Yeah. And you'll attract the people that you're meant to be around, women and men too, like a relationship. You'll attract that into your life. And I noticed that with myself. And again, it's a constant job. Like with me, I am a people pleaser and I'm a perfectionist. And so if I let that go, like, because I'm in a space right now where I've let that just run me, where it's like I'm very last on my list. And I think that's a woman thing also. Like in general, it's just, our kids, our spouses, our everything comes before. And so I've had to step back and be like, okay, And it's nice because now from all that work, when I got divorced, I've been able to recognize that now where it's like, hey, this is a me problem. This is a me issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I can step back and address this. But yeah, it's very interesting when it's out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I've noticed too with myself, if I don't dance, or I don't move my hips, or I don't focus on my sensuality,
mm-hmm.
I can feel it in my hips.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women too, that's where so many hold trauma straight in there, like right in your hips and right in your wombs, like all of that. And then it's painful. It's tight. It's amazing what can happen when you don't express yourself.
Yeah.
So,
And you know what, Carli? Spirit has really called me the last 4 months to work on my hips.
mm,
Been doing this, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's called
dramatic.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
somatic exercises.
Mm,
And before we got on today, girl, I was just like, okay, I got to get these hips together because I could just feel it. And I was doing this stretch and it was so painful, but I was just like, I need to feel this pain so I can transmute it and heal it, loosen up my hips,
mm-hmm.
you know, move past this and release this trauma from my body. Ever since I had those kids, girl, them hips is tight.
Mm-hmm.
They're
And
so
I've noticed him again in myself in the last probably year. It's been pretty bad for me, which it's never been that way. So I'm like, okay, there's something here that I
yes.
need to address. And it releases a lot of emotions too. I've actually got some somatic workout. Like I need to do it too. I have a little 30-day challenge thing that I need to do, but it gets you into your body. Like small movements that really release not just physical ailments, but emotions.
Yes.
I like for women, I think that the sensual movement, the sensual dance classes, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not sensual, like it's sensuality and sexuality are different. Like
Yeah.
sensuality, when you tap into all your senses and you use like it's finding pleasure in everything you do, everything like every sense. And it's not even like, again, I talk to people and they're like, well, pleasure, they immediately go sexual. And it's like, it's not even like that's a small portion, but you tap into your senses and you have all sorts of practices you can do throughout the day. And it's again for women too, putting makeup on,
Mm-hmm.
doing your hair, putting a cute outfit on. That makes a world of difference, like massive. And that's one of my biggest things is I love makeup. I love all the jewelry, all of that. And it's like you do that every day, just a little something, you feel what builds up is
Yeah.
amazing. And it goes into even eating, how you eat your food, how you, before you go to bed, how you wake up in the morning. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and it's so noticeable when you don't do it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
Because I feel like, to me, like, I know when I am feeling my most sensual, I am creating. Like, I feel it when I'm cooking, preparing meals. I make herbal remedies for my clients, myself, or my kids. I can just feel it in my hands, my
Mhm.
movement.
Mhm.
Girl, when I be eating food, honey.
Yeah, and it should be a pleasurable, like it should. Every moment of your day should be, and
Even
it's
cleaning.
crazy. I know. Like it just feels so much better. And then that, again, that rolls into everything you do. How your outlook, your attitude, everything, your physical ailments will start going away.
Mm,
Like things like that. It will.
that's so
So,
true.
yeah.
Okay, let's see. How do you think that sensuality and sisterhood go hand in hand?
I think it goes back to the connect, like the very ancient, ancient divine connection women have, and that need for sensual embodiment and expression. If you ever go to a dance class, like a sensual dance class, that's all women,
I want
it
to
is
go.
amazing. It's so much fun, but it's amazing when you have women hyping you up. Like they're supporting you. It's that same space, but it's also a space of you're a bad bitch. You're sexy,
Yeah.
you're all these things, and what you feel, the confidence you feel is amazing. And then I was going to say too, another like form of vulnerability that I found to be incredibly healing as a woman is boudoir. Because you have to be, it's a very vulnerable thing.
Oh
like
yeah.
putting yourself out there. And it's not even like, it's not something that's really for anybody else. It's not, it's for you. And same with dancing, but with vulnerability, I mean, with boudoir, it's for you. So you're getting dressed up, you're getting dolled up, you're putting on what you want to wear. It doesn't have to be, it can be a whole range of things, but you put that on, you take some pictures and you see how good you look. And it's amazing what it does. That was another, when I started getting into that, it was like, wow, this is fabulous. Like the hyping up from the photographer, from other women that see your pictures, like things like that. It's crazy. So
beautiful pictures.
It's awesome. I encourage everyone to do it because it's a very healing experience too. Like to see a woman, and that's the other thing I was gonna say is to see a woman, like when I've taught classes or when I've gone to help friends at boudoir sessions or I've done them myself, to see how beautiful, like women all, when they finally realize like, oh, I can totally move like that. Because so many will say, I can't move like that. I don't.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I promise you can, and it will come. And when they find that moment, it's amazing to see like the beauty and the power that comes from it. It's like, you could absolutely. And I think we're meant to move like that.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
And I feel like when I do have those beautiful, intimate connections and relationships with other women, my body, my mind, my spirit just flows better. Like, girl, you have me wanting to try.
No, it's amazing.
Carli, I love it. Let's see, what else? Oh, we were just going to talk about some different examples of vulnerability. So y'all could start, or whomever you think could use this valuable information, start your healing vulnerability journey. Okay. So some of the examples of vulnerability are doing something you're not good at. So just like Carli just said, like your first time doing boudoir photos, like you're like, I can't do that. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Something you're not good at?
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes for anything too. It's stepping out of your comfort zone a little. And especially if it's like if you have a passion that you want to try, but you're nervous too. I mean, to be vulnerable is incredibly scary. It is. And it's, there's a fear of failure. There's a fear of judgment. There's, we don't like to feel our negative feelings or our scary, the bad, the hard, difficult feelings. And you're exposing yourself essentially. Like you're laying there just completely exposed and hoping people like you or hoping people won't hurt you. And, but you don't grow at all and you don't heal at all. I believe that very strongly, that you won't heal if you can't be vulnerable. And so taking a little step out of that comfort zone, I encourage people to go out and do stuff by themselves, even if they're in a relationship. Like not, you don't have to do that all the time, but go out and get comfortable taking a class. Like if there's a dance class or if there's an art class or if there's you want to pick up a hobby, to do that, or going to a women's circle. Those are hard too. Because I have a lot of women who have texted me like, I want to do this, but then they're like, I'm too afraid to go. And it's like, it is scary. I mean, because there's that, you don't know what you're to expect. And
you're
so,
like, oh, girl, I got to wash my hair.
I know.
Something came up.
And yeah, just taking a step out of identifying what, like something you're interested in, or taking a step out of that comfort zone. And I do encourage women to go to a dance class. There's a lot of them popping up now. I'm myself hoping to teach very soon as well. And my thing, it goes along with my love for like beauty and fashion and all that, is burlesque. I love burlesque. And there's, a lot of sensuality and sexuality in that. That's so much fun and healing. So, yeah.
And just to kind of piggyback off of something you said, a lot of people do not even trust themselves to be vulnerable with themselves. Like,
Mm-hmm.
where you have to start. So I think that's awesome. Start off doing something by yourself. You know, something I've always wanted to do, go to a movie by myself.
Oh yeah.
Never
It's fun. It's nice.
I'm gonna try.
Well, that started after my divorce because you have to if you want to,
Yeah.
you know. It's like I've got to get out, and then then when you are at a point where if your significant other is working or busy or sick or something, and it's like, well, I want to go to dinner or I want to go to do this. You don't have to depend on that person to
Right.
be with you.
Because you deserve to live your life too. I think we get so caught up in our other relationships that we think that we have to only be vulnerable with the significant other, you know, or the family, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, another example of vulnerability is speaking your truth. We talked a little bit about that before. Like, it's hard sometimes, but even if your voice shakes, I always tell even some of my clients when this comes up in like their readings and stuff, or like I scan their energy and their throat chakras blocked, even if you got to write a letter, honey, and the other person don't never even read it, write it down, journal it, speak your mind, speak your truth, sing, all those things. How is another way that you find yourself able to speak your truth?
I like the writing down stuff. And for me, a lot of times I have to, if I'm feeling intense emotions, and I think it's good to take a break if you're feeling like super intense emotions before you just start talking, because that can just, we're emotional creatures as women, but taking a break and processing things before saying them. And I mean, I don't know, because I haven't mastered that yet. I'm still working on that. And it's good because one thing that's good for me now is I know the relationship I'm in is very safe. And I'm still learning that it's okay, you know, to speak my truth. And because that hasn't been a thing in the past at all. It's been, you know, your feelings don't matter. And then, or your opinions don't matter, or just be quiet. And that's been in my, you know, previous relationships, but also a big part of my previous part of my job that I won't go into either, like right now. But it was pretty much like, just shut up and do your job. And it's so it's getting past that, like your person that you're with does not feel that way, or the situation you're in does not apply to that other situation. So
that is so true. Like, I think the more safe you feel you can speak your truth. I definitely have had to do that. I have to walk away, honey. If I feel like I'm about to pop off, because I'm a Pisces, you gonna catch these physical hands, you gonna catch these throat chakra hands, and then you gonna catch some spiritual hands, okay? So I do. And my husband, like, and this has been like the last 2 years, he is so used to me just like popping off that when I just disappear, like we'll be in mid conversation, honey, and I just disappear. He's like, "Where'd this girl go?" Then I reemerge and I'm like, "Okay, I'm calm now." Are you?
And it's not good. I mean, I'm still balancing that for me, because I'm normally a calm person, but if it builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up, that's what I do. It builds up so much and I'm like, I don't even know what to think anymore. So I have to work through that on my own. But
it's like you check out a little bit. You're like, they really want this business. Girl. Okay, so another example of vulnerability is showing care. Like, and I feel like, yes, this pertains to other people, showing that you care, but I feel like we always, especially as women, we're always showing people that we care, but show yourself that you care, you know?
I think that's, again, it goes back to everything starts with you and how you take care of yourself radiates and attracts others. And
Yes.
I'm guilty. Like I'm, especially lately, where it's like I'm gonna do the bare minimum, and that's okay sometimes. But when you, again, I noticed so much when I was going through my dark night of the soul healing was if I got myself, if I really set that goal, that boundary that I have to do, I have to take care of myself. I have to get up. I gotta put real clothes on, and I gotta get ready for the day.
Yes.
It felt so much better, and it showed others how to treat me, and what, you know, it's totally different. The aura that you put out there, your vibes are totally different.
Yep, that's true. That is.
I think it starts with you 100%.
Her room. I mean, in your room. She's in your room. I can't find it. Yeah, definitely. I've been working on that too, pouring into myself, showing myself that I care. Because, baby, I be caring about Jarvis. I be caring about the babies. I be caring about, you know, family, friends. And then I'm around here feeling zapped, looking crazy. And no more. I can't do it anymore. Okay, another example of vulnerability is allowing yourself to feel strong emotion. I know we totally kind of touched on that a couple times, like with the holding trauma in your hips, holding trauma in your sacral chakra, and doing exercises to release that, or even, you know, holding the trauma in your throat chakra. Because sometimes, you guys, I ain't even gonna lie, you gotta yell at folks.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can get it out. If you have to scream it out, you have to do it. And
well, there's oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, but people tell us that showing emotion means you're crazy, you're mean, you're not in your right mind. But that's how you transmute and let that stuff out of your nervous system.
Yeah, and just your physical body too. I mean, it's again, we don't like to, as people, I think, feel our own uncomfortable feelings, but also others' uncomfortable feelings. Like it's that holding space part where there's a practice, there's a book called Pussy by Mama Gina. Have you heard?
I've heard of that. Yes.
It's fabulous. So she has a practice in that book called swamping that women do together. And it's essentially being like you're letting out all the emotions. You're having like a party a dance party where you're screaming, you're throwing, like things like that. I haven't done anything like that yet, but I can see the benefit of it. Like you get a bunch of women together who are struggling, you know, have those emotions, and they just need to get them out and rage for a minute.
Yeah.
I can see the benefit of that. And it's really cool to read about. But dance too. I mean, I've seen a lot of women who it's very emotional. Like if you're in a class and, you know, someone's finally feeling they can move that way, the emotions that come out is healing. And it's amazing to see.
Yes, girl. I swear, when I used to be pop blocking in the club, honey, that's why my hips are bad. All that dipping it low, bringing it up slow. I never have felt the emotions that I have now. So girl, we need to swamp together.
Yeah.
All right. Another example of vulnerability is talking candidly with others. I think it's so hard sometimes because you don't trust your own self, or you're so worried about how people are going to receive you and what you have to say. Folks.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of goes back to, I feel like there's, especially these days, and especially during like certain circumstances where a lot of people don't feel safe and feeling different about things. So when you try to, you know, you're trying to have a conversation, trying to express yourself, trying to express your opinion about it, and it's pretty much like, oh, you're wrong, you can't feel that way, or you're terrible for feeling that way. And it's unfortunate because people come from, if you really sit and listen to somebody, like listen to their story, listen to their opinion, listen to their everything, it's eye-opening, and you can definitely understand maybe where they're coming from, or maybe where their trauma is, or why they act the way, or whatever, how they are. And you can be more empathetic and just towards them and their situation and all of that, unless, they're truly being a terrible person. But you
Yeah.
can definitely learn a lot. And I think that's having being able to conversate with people who feel differently than you. And I mean, yeah, I think it's not so, I wish it was more acceptable, I guess. Because I've been in a lot of situations where it's not like it's very one-sided. And then you have the few in there that feel differently, and yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I've had many of those exchanges. Another example of vulnerability is breaking the status quo. I don't know. I can't think of, there are a few examples that I feel like I have broken the status quo. Like just breaking cycles, not being like, the ones that have come before.
Yeah.
I know, Carli, you and I think we 80s babies, right?
Yeah.
That is us. Like, we just not about that life. We're about breaking generational curses and cycles.
Yeah. And I think that's huge for women now too, is the sensuality movement, but also I think finding your divine feminine improves your relationship with women and with men too.
Yeah.
And just all these generational things that going on for years and years and years. And yeah. So I think just research, I mean, again, trying something new that involves, you expressing your sensuality, whether it's dance or it's boudoir or it's something like that. And I also think for women, it's getting to know yourself and your body as a woman. I mean, in my line of work too, a lot of people don't, I mean, the woman's body is amazing. And our womb, like if women understood the true power of their womb and the divine beauty and everything of it, it's creation. It's like, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And getting to know your body and treating it well. Yeah.
Yep.
I love seeing all the I wouldn't even say it's alternative medicine. It's all these, healers and practitioners, holistic ones for women that work on like womb care, pelvic floor healing, all these types of things that is outside of traditional medicine. I think those two worlds need to be combined.
Yes.
It's like, especially for women.
Because so many women could benefit from that. I totally agree. Another sign, you guys, of our example of vulnerability is being the first to open up. Being the first to open up and share and talk candidly, like it had said before. Because especially like in the kind of situation that you were talking about with like the dance and like the sister circles and stuff like that, it's like everybody in the room got to share and break down before a lot of people will step up and share theirs. Honey, I'm an oversharer. You know that about me.
I'm too. It takes me a minute to open up, like to certain people, but yes, and that's why we need those safe circles.
Yeah.
Because, I've had, women that approach me they're like, how do you move like that? How did you learn to do that? How I want to do that, but I'm not a dancer, or I don't look like that, or I'm not pretty, like things like this. And it's like, no, you can absolutely. And you've got to, come to this class or come to this women's circle, and you have a whole bunch of women who are there to support you.
Yeah, because we all do have it in us, especially if you are a mother and you have carried children, you give birth to children. If you're any type of artistic woman, like you create things,
Mm-hmm.
You have it in you. You have
Yeah.
it in you. Another example of vulnerability is trusting someone. I know, honey, before I was sick,
I know.
I used to have the worst trust issues. Oh man, I didn't trust nobody.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard, especially when you don't have like, healthy examples, but sometimes I think the first person to trust is yourself. Start
Well,
trusting.
I say that. Yeah. When you trust yourself and you know, like, again, I think for women that goes to our intuition, even our womb knowledge, like that feeling where something's wrong or
Mhm.
something's right. And it's almost immediate. Like if you have tapped into that, and it happens all the time. Like, and there's just people that don't listen or are not used to it. But once you learn how to trust that, it makes decisions like making so much easier.
Mhm.
And then you can realize too that people who are mistreating you or who are doing whatever don't feel right, it's an immediate like, oh, that person is not meant for me and it's not my problem.
Mhm.
Like, it's not my problem.
Yep,
And I
that's
wish it the best. But
mhm.
yeah, when you're not in that space, I'm also the person that I immediately go to myself. Like, I'm like, oh, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? It's obviously me. I
Mhm.
need to fix this. I need to, or not even fix it, but I need to figure out what's wrong and why I made this person act this way.
Right.
And when you learn that it's almost all the time, it's not you. It's but and then that too, trusting you can be more look at yourself too. Like if you really did, you can look at yourself and say, did I contribute something to this? If you did, then you can address it. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Start trusting someone, start trusting yourself.
Mhm.
Okay. Because how many, I know we all have to go through like lessons, but honey, if you would
Mhm.
have just listened to yourself the first time, you
Mhm.
would have avoided so many things.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then the last example of vulnerability is saying no.
Mhm.
Oh, Carly girl.
I'm bad with this one. And I've gotten better, but definitely again when you are trusting yourself and you're confident in yourself and you can speak your truth. You can say it in a way where it's easy. Or
Mm,
it feels it's not, and then you don't take a no wrong too.
right.
So yeah, but that's a huge
Right.
one.
And I agree with you. I struggled with it and I'm definitely getting better. But it is, and you're right, finding a different way to say it. Because baby, some of these folks is too sensitive.
A lot of times, yeah.
I used to be one of them folk. But truly, I want people now, now that I've continued working on myself, if it doesn't feel good, I
Hmm.
want you to do it. And
Yeah.
I don't care if you feel like you're gonna let me down, because if the shoes on the shoes on the other foot, girl, I don't know. I'm gonna tell you no. Like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you no, and I'm pretty good because I always feel like I'm kind of like letting people down. Like Carly and I have been planning this for a while, but it's like something always was coming up. And the last time we were supposed to do it, I had gotten sick. Then I started my moon cycle, but I'm like, I just have to. I feel bad, but I have to be honest. And she
Yeah.
was like, "Girl, whatever." So I
Mhm.
made this internal dialogue for no reason.
Yeah.
If you can't go to the family function, you
Hmm.
can't go. If you can't go to the extracurricular activity that somebody else planned for you, you can't go.
Hmm.
Want to be an introvert at your home on Friday night, and you don't want to be in the club popping, locking, and dropping and drinking and be hungover tomorrow, you can say no. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
So yes, there's so much power in saying no. No, no, no means no.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Lastly, we're just going to talk about 5 worries that define our vulnerability. The first one is we are afraid of not being accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, yeah, just like we were just talking about saying no, like, ooh, people are going to be mad at me. Who gives a darn? That's a them problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to accept yourself first. Self
Mm-hmm.
acceptance is key.
Yeah. When you can be comfortable with yourself, it doesn't matter how many people, you have around you. And you can have a small tribe. And that's really all you need.
Yeah.
A small tribe of super supportive people that, support you, you support them. And that's it. And you really do get to a place where you don't care what other people think. It's when you're unsure of yourself that you get more in the mode of, oh, I gotta impress this person, or I gotta be like this and I gotta be like that and like everybody else.
Yeah.
So, and most of the time they really don't truly care a whole lot.
True
So
that.
it's like,
True that. And I feel like the more you say no, the more you accept yourself or don't care, like if people accept you, you're gonna be in alignment with the people that are for you.
yes.
You're gonna put those people in your life that are gonna
Mhm.
accept you, that aren't offended when you say no, when you choose yourself, when you pour into yourself, and you not always making yourself available, and when they accept your vulnerability.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Another worry that defines vulnerability is we're afraid of not being worthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've struggled with that before too. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
like, oh well, if this person doesn't accept me, they don't love me, then I'm not worthy or deserving of it.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're worthy and deserving of the love from the people that are meant for you,
Yes.
that are in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Number three, we're afraid of being talked about by others. Honey,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
now I don't give 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Okay, talk about me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because you ain't doing nothing but fanning the fire of success for me, honey.
Mm-hmm. And that's one that I struggle with myself. And I have always, but again, when you are in a more comfortable, you know, loving and appreciating yourself and you know who you are, that doesn't even cross your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, you're kind of, like you said, you're kind of like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
Because remember, what folks say about you, they really feel about
Yes.
themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're just mad. Like, honestly, they are just mad that they're not doing what you're doing. Or how did she
Mm-hmm.
find the courage or the confidence, even though you over here holding on by a thread?
Mm-hmm.
How can she do that and I can't? Like, they're not going to come out and say it, but that's the way they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Next one is we're afraid of not being enough.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that for a long time, um, trying to reach this unattainable love from a person.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I know I'm enough. Girl knocking on the door of 40. I'm still alive. I'm still able bodied to have these beautiful children and a great husband. And I
Mm-hmm.
have some beautiful friends. And I feel like on path and purpose and helping people, like on my spirit's mission, healing myself and helping people.
Mm-hmm.
But it is hard to feel like you're enough. But nobody can tell you that you're enough. You have to know that you're
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we also get that imposter syndrome
enough.
sometimes where we feel like, there's something we really love and we want to do. And we know we're good at. And then you get worried that, oh, I don't have enough experience or I don't have enough this and that. I don't look like that person. And that can destroy you. Because I'm guilty of that too in certain areas where it's like, oh, I don't have this much experience or I don't have this certification or I don't have this, but it's like, but you're given talents and desire, passions for a reason.
Right.
And it's you follow that path and you'll be just fine. So,
Yes. And we live in such a beautiful time now. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. I mean, there's tons of avenues.
mhm.
Oh, uh-oh. I don't know. It went off for a second.
Yeah, I think.
Tons of avenues
Mhm.
you can make your dreams achievable,
Mhm.
and reach that next level. Okay. Last one. 5 worries that define our vulnerability is we're afraid of past experience repeating
Mhm.
themselves.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like God and the universe always has that same energy just to pop up to see how far you have come.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say there's lessons. I mean, and I said this earlier a little bit too, but when you go through something before, like earlier in life or whatever, or another experience, and then you are faced with it again, you can see it in a different light, or you have the tools to go to work through it. Like
Yeah.
my big thing is the communication with my partner now. It's realizing that I have to work on that. Like he's not doing anything to make it difficult, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It's a me thing that I have to work on. Because
Yeah.
there's not that same behavior. It's just sometimes there's that experience that comes up, or those memories that come up where it's like, when I did this before, this is what happened. And
Mhm.
I don't want that to happen again. But that's not going to happen this time. So yeah.
Right. Exactly. And another thing, learning your communication style,
Mhm.
learning your partners, even your children,
Mhm.
you know, taking that initiative, that I think feel like that helps too.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Carli, tell us again where we can find you.
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Facebook is Carli Michelle Hoffman. And then Instagram is Carli_Michelle87. And for now, and then once I get, like I said, get my things going, I'll post about other pages, other events. And yeah, I'm local to Ogden, and I'm hoping very soon to be teaching classes again. My sensual movement classes, burlesque classes, things like that. And I'd love to be doing, get involved in, more women's circles, stuff like that. So
Yes. All right. I appreciate you so much for being on here with us tonight.
thank
And
you for having me.
yes, everybody that joined us on the live, thank you so much. And everybody that watches the replay, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
honestly, moving into 2024, the rest of this year, y'all, don't be scared of being vulnerable with yourself and the people that love and accept you. And get you in some sisterhood, okay? All right, you guys, we're gonna see you in the next one. And Carli doesn't know it, but she coming back.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, guys. Carli, you don't have to hang up, but I'm gonna turn it off. Okay, bye.
Okay. Have a good night, everybody.